Tall black coffee, he said, handing over the cash. No cream, no sugar. The girl behind the counter gave a nod, tapped the screen, and turned away. That's when he heard it. Don't waste time on that guy, someone muttered from the back. He's just another cheap order. Russell Anderson froze. He didn't turn around, not yet. He just stared at the back of the cashier's head, waiting, listening. Then he heard the same voice again, louder this time, clearly annoyed. We've got mobile orders stacked. No need to fuss over some walk-in who won't even tip. Russell stayed quiet. He was dressed in worn jeans, a faded hoodie and a baseball cap pulled low. His beard was grown out, grayer than usual. No one at this store had ever met him. It made sense. There were 7 stores in the state, and this was the newest one. He'd inherited the company from his father last year, and while he'd visited 3 locations already as a fake trainee, today was different. Today was just a coffee run. He hadn't planned to go undercover here. But now he slid his phone into his pocket and stepped to the side, pretending to wait. His heart beat faster than it should have. He glanced around. The store was clean, modern, busy. 2 baristas worked the machines, a cashier up front, and a manager. He guessed it was the short guy pacing behind the line, barking orders. A name tag read Jason Manager. The first few minutes passed quietly. Then a woman stepped in, mid-30s, tired eyes, holding the hand of a small boy. She walked up to the register slowly, scanning the menu overhead. "Excuse me," she said softly. "Do you have anything without caffeine?" "My son, he's 6, just wants something warm." The cashier, a tall girl with braids and a pin that said Zoey, gave her a smile and nodded. "We can do a steamed milk with a little cinnamon, no caffeine at all." "Thank you," the woman said, but Jason cut in from behind. "Zoey, mobile orders." "You're holding up the line." Zoey didn't flinch. "They can wait. She's here now." Jason let out a sharp breath through his nose and turned away, muttering something Russell couldn't catch. Russell watched Zoey carefully. She stayed calm, kind. Even offered the kid a sticker from a jar beside the register. And when the woman stepped aside to wait, Zoey turned back to the register and caught Russell's eye. "Yours is almost ready," she said. He nodded. "Thanks." Then the voice came again from the barista closest to the espresso machine. "She always does this. Acts like it's her little charity shop. Can't keep babying every customer." Jason answered without looking up. "Don't worry, she's not gonna last." Russell clenched his jaw. He took his coffee and walked to the corner of the store, pretending to scroll through his phone. He sat in the back for 20 more minutes, sipping slowly, watching. He saw Zoey juggle orders, smile through every rude customer, and cover for a coworker who stepped out for a smoke break. Then there was the guy at the mobile pickup counter, young, probably early 20s. Name tag said Ben. He was quiet but efficient, restocking cups, wiping spills, calling out names clearly. No attitude, just focused. Russell watched Jason bark at him twice for not moving fast enough. Ben didn't argue, just nodded and kept working. The tension in the store was tight. It wasn't chaos, but it was cold, efficient but lifeless. Except for those 2. Russell stood up, tossed his empty cup, and walked out. He sat in his car for a minute, letting it all sink in. That line echoed in his head. Don't waste time on that guy. He looked down at his coffee-stained napkin, then at the logo on the cup, his father's old design. This place was supposed to feel different. That's what his dad always said. Make it warm, make it human. Russell started the engine. He had no choice now. He was going undercover again. Not as a customer next time. Tomorrow, he'd be back here as a new trainee. Russell stood in the back alley behind the shop, adjusting the brown apron over his hoodie. It was barely 6:40 in the morning, still dark, the air damp with early spring chill. A delivery van pulled away from the loading zone, leaving behind stacked crates of oat milk and paper cup sleeves. He knocked on the back door twice. It cracked open, revealing Ben holding a clipboard. His eyes scanned Russell's face briefly before he pushed the door wide. "You the new guy?" he asked. "Yeah," Russell said, keeping his voice steady. "Started today, name's Pete." Ben didn't offer a handshake, just nodded toward the hallway. "Jason's in the office." Clock in, then you'll shadow me. Russell followed him inside. The hallway smelled faintly of bleach and coffee grounds. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead. He passed a break room no bigger than a closet, 2 metal chairs, a microwave, and a half-empty bottle of hand sanitizer on the table. Inside the manager's office, Jason sat hunched over a laptop, sipping from a thermos. He didn't look up. "New hire," Ben said, pointing toward Russell. Jason held up a finger without breaking eye contact with the screen. After a long pause, he muttered, "Clock's on the wall." 4-digit code is your phone number. Russell entered the digits. The screen beeped green. "You've worked coffee before?" Jason asked, still not looking at him. "Some," Russell replied. Jason finally looked up. "Well, don't get creative. We've got systems. Stick to the training sheets. Ben'll show you how we batch, brew, and restock. You'll be on dish and floor for now." Ben led him out without another word. They walked past a storage closet where a mop leaned against a cracked bucket, then through the swinging door that opened into the main store. The space looked different this early, lights dimmer, music off, only 2 other workers present. One was Zoey, sleeves rolled, already behind the bar prepping syrups. The other was a short girl stocking pastries. She wore earbuds and didn't look up. "Start with the dish pit," Ben said quietly, pointing behind the bar to a narrow stainless steel sink stacked with last night's pitchers and milk wands. "Once that's cleared, come to me." Russell got to work without complaint. He didn't try to make conversation. He rinsed, scrubbed, and stacked with methodical focus, watching from the corner of his eye as the team prepared for opening. Zoey worked fast but carefully, measuring out ingredients, labeling containers. She greeted everyone with a small nod, but didn't force chatter. At one point, she handed Ben a tray of clean spoons. Without a word, he took it and gave a quick nod. Jason emerged at 7 sharp, clapping his hands once. "Let's open." The doors unlocked. Within minutes, the first few customers trickled in, commuters mostly. The shop filled slowly, then steadily. The pace picked up. Russell kept near the back, wiping counters, rinsing pitchers, filling ice bins. He watched Jason hover, offering no help, only snapping at minor mistakes. "Ben, you're dragging. That latte was up 30 seconds ago." "Zoey, that syrup pour is low." "You want to throw off ratios?" The girl with earbuds got pulled off pastries and put on register. She looked overwhelmed within 5 minutes. Her voice barely carried over the noise. A customer asked her to repeat a muffin option 3 times. Jason stepped in, grabbed the pastry case door from her hand and snapped, "Just say what's in stock. Don't give them a menu." She flushed red and stepped back. By 8, the line stretched to the door. Russell carried a mop bucket past the front when a woman in scrubs caught his arm gently. "Do you work here?" she asked. He nodded. "There's no lid station out front. I spilled my drink trying to carry everything." He looked toward the condiment bar. "Nothing, no napkins, no stirras, no lids. I'll fix it," he said. He walked to Jason, who stood beside the espresso machines, arms crossed. "Condiment bar's out of supplies," Russell said. Jason didn't move. "It's a self-service station. They can ask. They are asking." Jason didn't answer. He turned away, muttering something under his breath. Russell walked to the back, grabbed a box of lids, napkins, and sleeves, and restocked the station himself. As he passed the register again, the girl with earbuds was gone. Zoey had taken over, taking orders and moving fast. At the bar, Ben worked quietly, sweat on his brow. He was calling out names, pulling shots, steaming milk, all without pause. "Ben," Russell said quietly, "you need water." Ben shook his head once. "Can't stop, he's timing me." Russell stepped in without asking. He started cleaning the counters, tossing empty syrup bottles, restocking milk jugs. Zoey glanced over once, then passed him a used milk wand and whispered, "Thanks." Then it happened. A man in a suit stepped up to the counter, clearly annoyed. "Who made this?" he said, holding up a drink. Zoey turned. "Was something wrong? It tastes like dishwater." "I've had this same order for 2 years. Whoever made it doesn't know what they're doing." Ben turned, wiping his hands. "I made it," he said. "Figures," the man muttered. "You people never listen." Silence spread behind the bar. Russell stepped forward slowly. "What do you mean by you people?" he asked, voice flat. The man looked him up and down. "I mean baristas who don't pay attention. Don't get defensive, it's just a fact. I pay $6 for this." Jason appeared suddenly, stepping between them. "Sir, we'll remake it," he said, already reaching for a cup. "No need for drama." Ben was frozen. His jaw twitched. "No," Russell said, still staring at the customer. "He doesn't get to talk to people like that." Jason shot him a glare. "Pete, not your call. It is now," Russell said. He pulled off the apron slowly, then reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. From it, he slid out a black business card and placed it on the counter. It read, "Russell Anderson, CEO." Jason's face drained of color. "I came in yesterday. Heard how you talk about customers. Today I watched how you talk to your team. You're done here." Jason opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Russell turned to Ben. "You okay?" Ben nodded once, still stiff. Russell turned back to the customer. "You can have a refund. But you're no longer welcome in this store." The man scoffed, opened his mouth, but Russell cut him off. "I said leave." The man turned and walked out, muttering to himself. Russell looked at the team. No one moved, then Zoey quietly said, "About time." He turned toward her. "You're the only one who kept this place human," he said. "You and Ben." He looked toward the back. "Team meeting. Now." Everyone followed him into the back hallway. Jason stayed behind, standing awkwardly by the register until Russell turned and added, "That doesn't include you." Jason walked out the front door without a word. Inside the break room, the team sat silently. Ben leaned against the wall. Zoey sat on the edge of a metal chair. The girl with earbuds, her name tag said Lee, stood near the door, eyes wide. "I owe you all an apology," Russell said. "This store was supposed to be better. I failed you by letting it run this way." No one spoke. "I saw people here trying," he continued. "Really trying. And being ignored or worse, shut down. That ends now." He looked at Lee. "You okay?" She nodded. "You're not alone anymore. We're going to fix this." He looked at Zoey. "You have management experience." She blinked. "A little. I used to run a shop back home before I moved." "Good," he said. "You're acting manager until we hire permanent leadership. You'll help me rebuild this place." Zoey stared at him. Slowly, she nodded. He turned to Ben. "You're staying." Ben looked at him for a long moment, then said, "If she's running it." "Yeah." Russell nodded. "We've got a lot to fix. But I'm not leaving until it's done." He walked out of the break room, leaving behind a silence that felt finally like relief. Russell arrived just before dawn the next morning. The air had a cold bite to it, and the street outside the store was still mostly silent. He unlocked the side door with the spare master key he'd kept from his father's old office drawer, a key he hoped he'd never need. Inside, the shop was still. The espresso machine sat unplugged, the pastry fridge hummed quietly, and a single bulb flickered above the back hallway. He walked through the place slowly, like stepping through a house after a storm. It was quiet, but not peaceful. More like the moment before something important had to begin. He sat at one of the corner tables, watching the front door through the glass. The first to arrive was Lee, hands tucked into her sleeves, earbuds around her neck this time. She hesitated when she saw him inside. "I wanted to be the one who opened today," he said. Lee nodded, then moved past him toward the back, not speaking. She looked exhausted. The next was Ben, 5 minutes early, backpack slung over one shoulder. He looked at Russell, then passed him toward the bar. "Still want me here?" he asked. "If you're willing," Russell said. Ben gave a short nod and went to the back to clock in. The door opened again a few minutes later, and Zoey stepped in, holding a clipboard and a rolled-up apron. She stopped when she saw Russell already inside. "I thought I was opening," she said. "You are," he said. "This is your store now." "I'm just here to help." She looked at him carefully, then moved past without another word. She flicked on the lights, then started checking the espresso machine gauges and prepping the pastry case. She didn't fumble. She didn't pause. As the rest of the team arrived, a part-time hire named Marcus and a new trainee who had been scheduled weeks ago but never properly onboarded, Zoey handed out assignments without hesitation. She didn't raise her voice, didn't over-explain, just gave clear, steady instructions. Russell stayed out of the way, restocking the dry goods shelf and cleaning behind the sinks. He didn't want to interfere. He just wanted to see it working. They opened on time. The first few customers came in without incident. The flow was steady, manageable. Lee handled the register with more confidence than before, and Ben moved more freely behind the bar, calling drinks with a little more volume than the day prior. But by mid-morning, the cracks began to show. The new trainee, a kid named Eric, fumbled a hot lid and spilled coffee near the milk bar. Lee tried to help, but he waved her off and muttered something under his breath. Russell turned from where he was cleaning the front windows. "Eric," he said. "Say that again." Eric looked up, startled. "Nothing, just said I've got it." Zoey stepped in. "That's not how we handle mistakes here," she said. "You clean it up, you take help when offered, and you don't blame other people." Eric rolled his eyes but grabbed a rag and started wiping the counter. By noon, the line had stretched to the door again. A group of high school students crowded the pickup area, laughing and taking up space. One of them knocked over a display of baked goods without noticing. Ben stepped out from behind the bar to clean it up, and Zoey moved to cover his position. Russell watched as she moved between customers and machines, calibrating shots without checking the manual. She was fast, clean, and efficient, but she wasn't magic. At one point, a customer, a man in his 60s with a Bluetooth headset in his ear, snapped his fingers at Lee. "Miss. Hello. Are you going to take orders or just stand there?" Lee tried to respond but tripped on her words. "She's helping someone," Russell said from behind the counter. "You'll wait your turn." The man squinted at him. "Who are you, the janitor?" Russell didn't answer, just looked at Zoey. Zoey stepped forward, calm but direct. "We don't tolerate disrespect toward staff. You can either wait politely or leave." The man scoffed. "Unbelievable." He turned and stormed out, leaving behind a half-mumbled insult. Zoey turned back to Lee. "You're doing fine," she said. "Don't let people like that shake you." Lee nodded, but her hands trembled slightly as she rang up the next order. After the rush, Ben leaned against the back counter, wiping his forehead. "We're still short," he said. "This pace won't hold." "I know," Zoey said. "I've got a shift lead from the East Side store coming in tomorrow to help, but today we just get through it." Russell stepped in then. "There's an operations manager position open. I need someone who knows what this team needs." Zoey raised an eyebrow. "You offering that to me?" "I'm asking you to consider it," Russell said. "You've already started turning this around, but you'd need to train a new store manager to take over here." She looked at the team, then back at him. "Let's see if I survive the week first." That afternoon, a woman in business clothes came in carrying a clipboard and a paper folder. She didn't order anything, just stood near the counter, waiting for someone to acknowledge her. Russell approached. "Can I help you? I'm Mia." "I work in compliance for the company," she said. "I got a request to do a labor audit on this location." "From who?" "Your office," she said. Russell nodded. "Then let's do it." She spent the next 2 hours reviewing time cards, checking schedules, and interviewing staff in the break room. Russell stayed out of her way but watched from a distance. When she finished, she pulled Zoey aside and spoke with her for a few minutes. Then she returned to Russell. "I'll file the full report, but I'll say this," she said. This store was operating with chronic understaffing, no formal onboarding process, and a manager who manipulated scheduled data to avoid triggering overtime flags. Russell's jaw tightened. "Can you prove that?" "I already did. I forwarded the records to HR." "Jason's employment file has been flagged." "Good," Russell said. "I want a new payroll system installed here immediately. One that requires dual sign-off for all overtime entries." Mia nodded. "Understood." When she left, Russell returned to the floor. The team was quieter now. The adrenaline of the rush had faded and the weight of the day had settled. He sat with Ben during a short break, both sipping lukewarm coffee. "You didn't have to step in when that guy mouthed off," Ben said. "I've heard worse." "You shouldn't have to hear it at all," Russell replied. Ben looked at him. "Jason wouldn't have cared." "I know." Ben leaned forward slightly. "Why'd you come here, really?" Russell took a breath. Because I heard someone in this store say I wasn't worth their time. And if that's how we treat any one customer or staff, we're no better than the chains we claim to be different from. Ben nodded slowly, then looked out toward the shop floor. Feels different today. It's a start, Russell said. But we've got a lot of work left. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, the shop finally quieted. The last of the lunch crowd was gone, and the team began closing tasks early, moving with quiet coordination. Russell stood near the front window, watching the streetlights flicker on outside. Zoey joined him, arms crossed, apron untied. You meant it, didn't you? She asked. Every word. She nodded once. Then I'll stay, but only if you keep showing up, even if it's just for coffee. Russell looked at her. Deal. Neither of them spoke for a while. The store behind them buzzed with quiet motion. Not perfect, not fixed, but finally moving in the right direction. By the end of the week, the air inside the store had shifted. It wasn't lighter yet, but it was clearer. Every team member moved with more purpose, if still a little caution. The damage hadn't disappeared. It wasn't going to. But at least now, no one had to pretend it didn't exist. Russell returned each morning, never stepping behind the bar unless asked, always in the background unless needed. He restocked, wiped down baseboards, and sat in on deliveries. It wasn't about proving something anymore, it was about staying present. Quiet presence, he'd learned, was more powerful than loud promises. On Friday afternoon, he stepped into the back office, where Zoey was bent over a printed schedule. She had a red marker in one hand and a calculator in the other. The whiteboard on the wall was filled with shift swaps and initials. A second chair sat empty beside her, covered in unopened sticky notes. When's the last time you clocked out? He asked, leaning against the doorframe. I'm still on, she said, not looking up. Marcus called out for tonight. Lee's covering, again. He walked in and pulled the chair clear. Payroll's been adjusted, he said. Any coverage over 4 shifts a week gets a 15% premium. Lee's going to see that on her check. Zoey capped the marker and finally looked at him. That's not what she needs, she said. She needs a team. She's 2 missed breaks away from shutting down. I know, he said. Mia's team posted the recruitment notice this morning. 3 part-timers, 1 full. They'll split between this shop and the new one opening across town. Zoey leaned back, rubbing her temples. She's good at register, she said, but she flinches every time someone raises their voice. She told me, Russell said. She worked at a fast food place before this. Manager used to yell from the kitchen if anyone made him repeat an order. Zoey's expression hardened. I want her trained on bar, she said. Next week, Ben can shadow her. If she's going to stay, she needs to know she's not just here to absorb people's moods. Done, he said. She looked at the schedule again. You're missing a block on Thursday, she said. We've got a vendor rep coming in equipment calibration. They'll need someone here who knows the old specs. He took the red marker from her hand and wrote his name into the blank space. I'll be here, he said. That night after close, the team stayed behind. Not because they had to, but because Zoey had asked for 1 hour of their time for a full reset. No scripts, no hierarchy, just a team check-in. They gathered at the front of the store. The lights were dimmed, the machines powered down. A tray of leftover pastries sat on the counter, untouched. Zoey stood in front of them, not behind the bar, but next to Lee and Ben. I know the last few months weren't easy, she said. Some of you were managing things you shouldn't have had to. And some of you, she looked at Eric, who stood stiffly near the back, are just starting to understand what this place is supposed to be. Eric didn't look up. We're not going to fix everything overnight, she continued, but we're done pretending things were fine. They weren't. No one interrupted. Even Marcus, who leaned against the wall with his arms folded, stayed quiet. I want to know what's not working, Zoey said. Not just the machines, the routines, the way we treat each other. If something feels off, speak up. Lee cleared her throat softly. I don't want to be the backup plan anymore, she said. I want to know the schedule before everyone else calls out. Ben looked at her, then at Zoey. She's right, he said. She shows up more than half the team, Zoey nodded. You'll get priority scheduling, she said. And you'll be the first to train on any new station. Then she turned to Eric. You've been late twice and haven't finished a full shift without stepping out for smoke breaks. You've got one more chance to show you're part of this team. That's it. Eric looked at Russell, then at the floor. I get it, he said. No, Zoey said. You don't get it yet, but you can. Ben crossed his arms. If he talks like he did last Tuesday again, I'm not working with him. Eric's jaw tightened. I already told HR I was out of line. That wasn't being out of line, Zoey said. That was disrespect. You don't get a second shot at that. One more comment like that and you're out. No warnings, no discussions. Eric gave a small nod. Zoey turned to Russell. You good with that? She asked. I would have fired him already, Russell said, but I'll follow your lead. For now, the room fell quiet again. Marcus spoke up next. I want to know why we don't get tips split by shift. I've closed 3 nights this week and watched morning crew walk out with the bulk. Zoey glanced at Russell. That's on me, Russell said. Tip distribution will be adjusted to match hours worked within the pay period. We're not playing favorites. Starting next week, it'll reflect time, not time of day. Marcus gave a slow nod, then he added, the milk fridge has been leaking for 2 weeks. Repair orders in, Zoey said. Should be replaced next Tuesday. Ben looked around the room. Feels weird saying this, he said, but I think we're on the right track. Lee looked surprised. You didn't think we'd get here? I didn't think anyone would care enough to fix it, he replied. Russell stepped forward at that. I didn't care soon enough, he said. That's on me. Zoey looked at him. You're making it right, he nodded. Trying to? They stood there quietly for another minute, then Zoey clapped her hands once. Go home, she said. We open again in 9 hours. And no one's working more than 5 straight without a break. I'll personally cover the floor if I have to. They started to gather their things. Ben walked out with Marcus, deep in conversation. Lee lingered by the pastry case, repacking the uneaten snacks into a container. Russell waited until they were gone, then turned to Zoey. You still thinking about the operations role? He asked. She looked toward the door. I'm not walking away from this team just to sit in an office, she said. You won't, he replied. The role's flexible. Store visits, team development, hiring oversight, but you'd keep a regular shift rotation. Field-based, she considered that. I'll take it, she said. But I want say in who runs this place after me. You'll hire them, he said. Final call's yours, she nodded once. Before she walked out, she stopped by the front counter and turned off the last light. The store dimmed, the reflections from the glass windows softening into the empty street outside. Russell stayed behind for a moment, alone inside the shop. He looked at the worn tile near the register, the new bar rags folded neatly by the sink, the soundless machines waiting for morning. Nothing flashy had changed. The store looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. He stepped outside, locking the door behind him, and started toward his car. From now on, he wasn't just the CEO, he was responsible. Every day. Not through reports or spreadsheets, but by showing up. And from now on, nobody in his company would ever be told they weren't worth the time.